Hello, and welcome back to the fifth installment in a series of videos on the history of Japanese prints and the collection of Japanese works on paper at the Honolulu Museum of Art. I'm Steven Salel, the curator of Japanese art. The subject of this video is the print designer Nishikawa Sukenobu. As an introduction, let us compare him with other artists who we discussed in earlier videos. In our second video, we looked at the work of Nishikawa Morinobu, who was active about 2 generations before Sukenobu. Morinobu lived and worked in Edo, while Sukenobu was active in Kyoto, another important center of Japan's publishing industry. They both specialized in the format of woodblock printed books, and both make frequent reference to works of classical literature, such as The Tale of Genji. In his woodblock printed books, Morinobu documented a variety of social types, including hunters, carpenters, and courtesans of the Yoshiwara brothel district, regardless of their status within the hierarchy of that community. In our previous video, we discussed the Taiyu, the highest-ranking courtesans in the Yoshiwara. Kaigetsudo Ando, founder of the Kaigetsudo school, established a stylistic model for depicting figures, which he based upon the appearance of a Taiyu. Throughout their careers, Ando's students, who were active about a decade before Sukenobu, faithfully drew from that archetype. One of the few points of commonality between Sukenobu and the Kaigetsudo school is their focus on women. While Kaigetsudo Ando and his students focused exclusively upon the Taiyu of the Yoshiwara, Sukenobu's work includes images of women who represent over 100 distinct occupations and lifestyles. Some of Sukenobu's best-known works are illustrated adaptations of classical literature, such as Yoshida Kenko's Essays in Idleness, known in Japanese as Tsurezuregusa. Other publications, such as the Illustrated Study of Japanese Things, spotlight travel destinations, including Mount Fuji and Kiyomizu Temple in Kyoto. The artist's finest works, however, are those illustrated books, ehon, that focus upon women. In 1758, towards the end of his career, the artist published The Illustrated Lives of Women in collaboration with his son, Nishikawa Suketada. The book includes images of women dressed in 11th century clothing, like characters from The Tale of Genji. Each image includes an aphorism from a classical Chinese source. This image of a couple and their attendant admiring the fish swimming in a nearby stream, for example, is accompanied by a quotation from an early 15th century text that reads, "A tree cannot cast away the earth. A fish cannot discard the water." The poem is followed by an interpretation, encouraging a person to accept the inescapable circumstances of her life. Another image, showing a woman gazing at the frozen surface of a pond, includes the quotation, "Ice is made of water, but is much colder," which originates from the writings of the 6th century Confucian scholar Liuzi. The commentary explains that adversity, ice, is nothing but a shift in aspects of our daily environment, water, that we are intimately familiar with. The three women seated here seem to be discussing troubles in their social lives. The quote from a 9th century text reads, "A reputation is the guest of truth. When a bad reputation comes to light, beauty can never overshadow it." The situations depicted in the illustrated lives of women are extremely varied. Here, two young women and their male friend gaze at a three-dimensional astrolabe and receive a lesson in Western astronomy from a foreigner, likely a Dutch trader living in Nagasaki. Nevertheless, the inscription invariably ties the scene to the subject of social etiquette, and Sukenobu seems intent on teaching moral lessons to his readers. We can safely assume that the book was intended specifically for young women, like etiquette manuals, which were very popular at this time, and some of which Sukenobu illustrated. Through the text and images, Sukenobu conveys sympathy for the struggles that his female readers faced in their daily lives. And we can imagine how interesting many of those readers found such a publication for that reason. Earlier works by Sukenobu, though still focused upon the daily lives of women, were far more thought-provoking in the way that they highlighted the stark differences between lifestyles within Japan's social hierarchy. Picture Book of Evergreens, which Sukenobu published in 1731, for example, begins with portraits of noble ladies from the tale of Genji. As well as images of female authors from the 11th century, Lady Murasaki Shikibu and the poet Ono no Komachi. However, he suddenly shifts his focus to anonymous women from an unspecified time period. And by the third volume of the text, he has focused his attention on prostitutes working in the cities of Kyoto, Osaka, and Edo during the 18th century. This juxtaposition of celebrated historical figures and modern-day sex workers found in Picture Book of Evergreens was radical for its time. But in the same year, he published an even more ambitious text, Appreciating 100 Women, an astonishingly detailed, encyclopedic survey of women's roles in Japanese society. Sukenobu's book begins with a portrait of the Empress. The page is decorated with a Baroque frame of pine needles, plum branches, and a variety of other auspicious symbols. From that pinnacle, Sukenobu lists in descending order each rank in the hierarchy of female society: the empresses maid of honor, naishi, and other attendants, leaders of the imperial convent, amagosho, and dozens of other occupations down the line until, at the very end of the book, Sukenobu discusses women in manual labor jobs. And at the lowest level of society, street prostitutes. Research suggests that the painter Hanabusa Icho had published a book on a similar subject around 1698, for which the artist was banished by the shogun to Miyake Island for the following 12 years. By merely mentioning sex workers and the empress in the same document, Sukenobu took a daring risk, yet fortunately, he seems to have escaped unpunished. Let us summarize the points discussed in this video. Nishikawa Sukenobu's work can be compared to that of his predecessor, Nishikawa Moronobu, who similarly documented various social types in 18th century Japan. The number of social types that Sukenobu recorded, however, was exponentially greater. We also compared Sukenobu with the artists of the Kaigetsudo school. While Sukenobu shared their interest in women as the subject of his artwork, he wasn't interested in idealizing a single class of courtesan as a paragon of beauty. Instead, he focused upon the variety of occupations and lifestyles that women pursued. And in this way, he emphasized their humanity more than their beauty. In our next video, we will discuss the innovation of multi-block printmaking in the 1760s, and we will consider the numerous technological advancements in the field of woodblock printing up until that point.